The U.S. is hosting the annual APEC summit of world leaders this week in San Francisco. They will be discussing ways to promote economic growth across the Pacific region. But the main event will be happening on the sidelines, a face-to-face meeting tomorrow between President Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. This is Xi's first visit to American soil since 2017. The talks come amid a year of mounting tensions between the superpowers. So for more on what's going to be going on, we want to bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. All right, Ed, the big question, what are we expecting from Biden's meeting with Xi?
No major breakthroughs expected, Anne-Marie, but the fact that they're meeting face-to-face is encouraging to China and the United States and probably to most of the world, because these are, of course, the two largest superpowers. The big thing we're anticipating is an agreement to have the U.S. and Chinese military start talking to each other once again. Everyone will remember that you've seen the Secretaries of State, Treasury, Commerce, and other U.S. officials and Chinese officials visit either one country or the other in the lead up to this to try to set the ground rules and some sense of what each side is thinking. The one group or the counterparts that haven't talked are the defense chiefs. And so the hope is that they'll come out of these meetings with an agreement to resume those talks, given, of course, that China has been doing so much there in the South Pacific, concerning its neighbors and raising calls from the United States to show a little more restraint. Beyond that, we're anticipating there'll be some conversation about fentanyl. China produces the chemicals that are used in those opioids that are then sent into the United States by drug cartels. There's bipartisan concern that China needs to be held accountable for that, and we'll see whether or not there's any sense of a plan to control the export of that chemical and try to stop the scourge of that drug across the United States. And then things like artificial intelligence. Are the two countries going to be able to work together on policing its use as it becomes far more widely used? China, of course, is looking for a few things: an understanding that the U.S. will stay out of Taiwan affairs, and a general sense that the United States isn't completely backing off from working within or with the Chinese economy. Most American leaders would say that's fine as long as China plays by the generally accepted international rules of the road.
So I know we've been focusing a lot on the meeting between Biden and Xi, but this entire meeting is going to be really important because this region is really important. Who else will Biden be meeting with at the summit?
Well, the other big meeting we now know about is a planned conversation between the president and the Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, of course, our neighbor to the south. Important that they're meeting at all in person and that they're meeting at this conference, because the Mexican leader has rebuffed invitations to similar summits here in the United States, and these two haven't necessarily had the warmest or most frequent relationship as you might expect between next-door neighbors. But there's obviously, again, here a lot to discuss, not only economic development, but of course concerns about immigration, which remains now a hemisphere-wide concern. And there'll be also probably some conversation about the flow of illegal drugs south to north, among other topics. This could be one of the last meetings between these two leaders, depending on how things go in the next year, since there will be elections in both countries next year, and AMLO is term limited, so there'll be somebody else after him.
And of course, this all comes as D.C. is working, I hope they're working, to avoid a government shutdown. The deadline is this Friday. I don't know if that's going to have much of an impact on what the president is busy doing. I mean, he's basically sort of on the sidelines until he has to sign something, right?
Until there isn't an agreement and the government could shut down on Friday, yeah, there is. If he sees progress today, good sign that he'll probably stay in San Francisco through his scheduled meeting with the Mexican leader on Friday. The fact that the White House scheduled it for Friday is a sign they think things are going to go okay. We'll see.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, thank you.